Lake Michigan shoreline walks in northwest Michigan are both fascinating and attractive. This video will show you some of the things you will encounter, the types of walking surfaces, where to walk, and an interpretation of the law when crossing private property. The sections presented here are primarily public land and cover long sections of shoreline.
When you're out walking Lake Michigan beaches, whether it's rickety rocky like this or smooth beaches, smooth sandy beaches, it's nice because number one, you can't get lost. You can't get lost on the lakeshore because you just turn around. You turn around, and if you're carrying a water filter, you don't get thirsty because you just take a sip of the lake. Depending on when you're on the water shoreline, bugs a lot of times could be low. If it's windy, mosquitoes can't fly in that wind. Their little dainty wings bust up, fold up. They get pushed into the rocks. So shoreline walking's good. And if you're in the sand, you can run. And if you're in this rocky stuff, you can't. Very easy anyway. And kick off your feet, take a swim. Lots of good stuff that goes along with it. So shoreline walking's a kind of a different type of an activity in and of itself.
When it comes to the footwear you should wear along the shoreline, right here, just bare feet. Maybe flip-flops or sandals or something real easy to walk with.
For this type of walking surface, which is very common, hiking boots, no flip-flops, barely even tennis shoes. Something that has ankle support and a strong sole.
This section of the video illustrates 10 walks that range from pure dune beach sand to rocky bedrock. Wilderness State Park rests on the northern shores of Lake Michigan, and in the Mackinac Straits area you can see views of the Mackinac Bridge and giant freighters that pass through. And after getting past Waugoshant's points, you get into more of the dunes area with long sandy beaches. Access the shoreline at Wilderness State Park, Sturgeon Bay Beach, or Sturgeon Bay Dunes. Petoskey State Park is a mile of pure beach sand. At the south end, there's access to a lot of restaurants and retail opportunities. Get on the beach at Petoskey State Park off M119 or at the Tannery Creek access. The US 31 roadside parks give you access to Rock Picker's Paradise. Over 5 miles exists between 9 Mile Point Drive and Pabashan Road in Charlevoix, with only a few sections of private property. Welcome to Charlevoix, with over 3.5 miles of shoreline that covers dunes and big sandy beaches, and a lighthouse, and Right in the center is the city of Charlotte. Get access to the water at the 2 preserves north of town, or Lake Michigan Beach near downtown, or the boat launch where good rock picking starts. Fisherman's Island State Park, my favorite, from Charlevoix to Norwood, has beaches and dunes and bedrock and mixture of everything. Traverse City East Bay and West Bay provide an urban environment with a mixture of parks, hotels, and private property. There's lots of places to get on, and the Tart Trail runs parallel with the whole section. Old Mission Peninsula is mostly private property, but at the end, the Mission Point Lighthouse offers access to the water, and as well the Leonel Peninsula at the very tip. The lighthouse property and the state park property offer shoreline walking. Sleeping Bear Dunes north of Empire. All sandy beaches built from big sand dunes. You can walk for miles and miles at the National Lakeshore. There's many spots to get on from Good Harbor Bay clear down to Empire Beach. The Sleeping Bear Dunes south of Empire continues the dune experience with the lighthouse and Platte River and lots more sandy beach walking.
So where can you walk on the shoreline on Lake Michigan based on legal rights, the legal stuff? And I'm not gonna try to pretend like I know the law. Instead, I'm gonna take a shot at interpreting it. So there's 3 ways you can interpret whether you can or not. Some people say, nope, can't walk across my beach, period. Others might say, you can only walk across where the waves make it wet. And I'm out here after a rain on purpose because that gets funny. A windy day, you got a bigger walking surface than a calm day if you use the wet sand method. And then others might say, probably more formally, the ordinary high water mark. What is the ordinary high water mark? It's generally how high the lake level has gotten and how far that water pushes inland over the last long time. So it's 2022 right now. A few years back in 2019, 2020, I think the water level got super high. It might have even made a new ordinary high water mark. Distance inland, you know, how far you can come, how much sand or shoreline you can walk based on how far that water touched land. If it was ever underwater, you can walk on it. Simple. That's what that interpretation says. If this land was ever underwater, I can walk on it. Okay, so what is the, because ordinary high water mark can get pretty big. You can end up right in, you know, if you're on private property, right next to their lawn. And so what should be interpreted from these 3 different laws, if you will, that are on record or being looked at? What is the real answer? Most of us don't live on the shoreline of Lake Michigan. But most of us live next to a road. And so maybe the best way to demonstrate what should be the answer to how far and what you can do on the shoreline of somebody's private property, we can use the analogy of what people can do in a road right-of-way. Because a road right-of-way extends, you know, anywhere from 25 feet from center line, maybe 33 feet is common from center line, 50 feet, 100 feet. There's a portion of the grassy area adjacent to roadways that are owned, I'll say in quotes, by the public, and allows passage. And the road obviously allows passage. That we're going to use, that analogy we're going to use as the water. In our living on a road versus living on the water and the road are the same. You can cruise through that water, you can drive down that road next to your houses, no worries. But when you get off from the road, and hence off the water on the shore, what can we use as an analogy to demonstrate what is appropriate? There's laws, but there's social appropriateness. And that's what I'm trying to show, is how to be just to enjoy the shoreline, but be appropriate for these property owners. Dude, what are you doing in my yard?
What?
What are you doing in my front yard with your coffee and cooler?
This is the public right of way. I'm gonna sit here and watch the cars go by and people watch and drink my coffee and eat my sandwich in a few minutes.
This is private property, man. What the heck?
This is public right of way. From the center line out to 33 feet is open to the public.
Well, certainly the road is open to the public, and walking along the road is no problem. But sitting here with your lawn chair?
Oh yes, public accessible.
This is all messed up. So yeah, in summary, if you're on public land, on the shoreline of public property, just follow the rules of that agency. And most of them are just normal rules. The federal properties don't allow you to pick up stones, especially Petoskey stones. So that'd be a difference, property-wise. Some of the conservancy property may have some different rules that are different than the state and state parks. So just in general, you can have a swim, picnic, pick up rocks unless you're in the national park, and have fun. Now, if you're on private property, just walk across it and get to your next section of public land. Don't stop and take a swim, don't stop and have a picnic, and don't pick up the rocks. It just seems inappropriate. And that's really the point I'm trying to make, not trying to define the law, barely trying to interpret it, just putting some etiquette, ethics, I guess, in shoreline walking, that if you're on private property, pick up a normal standard walking pace and get through it to your next chunk of public land, and then you can go back to public land rules.
To find the ownership of the shoreline you're walking on, search Property Search or GIS associated with the county you're in. This illustration shows the state of Michigan owns the lighthouse property at the tip of the Leelanau Peninsula.